I'm Matt, and I'm from Sydney, Australia, and I was diagnosed with testicular cancer on the 4th of July, 2024. I've always liked to get outdoors. Living in Australia, we all live by the beach, right? Everyone grew up along the coast of Australia, so a lot of time spent by the beach. Getting out on my mountain bike was like what I loved doing. I went for a period of about 6 months where I had some really crazy back pain, and it was like lower back pain. At first, didn't think much of it and kind of ignored it. Then it got worse to the point where I was having trouble sleeping. I bought multiple new mattresses, but it only got worse and worse. It got to a point where I couldn't ignore it anymore. I went and saw my chiropractor, and he had some concerns and said, Matt, if you wake up and you feel like you lose any feeling in your legs, you need to go get these scans done. And a couple of days later, sure enough, I woke up and I couldn't feel my left leg anymore. And that's what triggered me to go finally get a scan. I had dizziness, fatigue, night sweats, lots of heart issues. I was put on high blood pressure medication. I was put on heart rhythm medication for issues that my watch was telling me that I was having with my heart. And that all happened over 6 months, but I kind of never really pieced those symptoms together as being something serious. It was only after the fact I was like, well, hold on a minute. I never had night sweats. I never had these symptoms before 6 months prior. So all those things were my body telling me that something was wrong, but I just never sort of listened to the signs. The radiologist came out, and his words were, and I'll never forget them because it was like he had seen a ghost, but it was, I think we've found the reason why you're in so much pain. And he said to me he was going to call my doctor and see if he could arrange a few more tests. So I remember laying on that table, waiting for him to come out. Felt like a lifetime. And in that moment, I remember everything flashing in front of my eyes, and ultimately him coming out and doing another CT scan, but with contrast this time. And it wasn't till a few hours later that I'd get a call from my doctor to tell me that they'd found something. She said to me, look, Matt, they've found sarcoma. And I went, oh, okay, what's that? Like, what do I do for that? She said, oh, look, it's not that big. It's about the size of a pencil, but it's really long. And I said, okay. And like, what do you mean it is? Like, what are we talking about here? And she said, oh, it's a muscle cancer. There was only a few specialized clinics in Australia that dealt with sarcomas. So I was seen by a surgeon the very next day after being diagnosed with a sarcoma. I met with the surgeon, and he said, look, you've got this tumor growing in your psoas muscle. And I said, oh, look, at least it's not very big. And he said to me, oh, no, Matt, it's very big. They'd actually made a typo on my original report. It wasn't the size of a pencil. It was the size of a football. They'd confused a few of the measurements. So he said, it's really serious. Sarcomas are really serious. And I said, okay, so if I got cancer, we're talking about chemo and that, right? And he said to me, look, chemo's off the table. It's not something we can do for the type of cancer you have. We think you have a really aggressive, fast-growing muscle cancer, which is a liposarcoma. And the only treatment that we can do for you is to rush you into surgery and hopefully cut it all out. Your tumor is growing along your spine on the main artery that supplies the blood to your legs. It's growing against your kidney. It's growing into your femoral nerve. And I said, well, what does that mean? Am I going to be able to walk after this surgery? He said, you will be able to walk, but you'll just have to learn to re-walk in a new way because you'll have no control over that left leg. And it was that moment it all hit me. I went silent. I couldn't talk anymore because for me, that was a massive deal to not be able to walk properly ever again. On that drive home, I received a call from my surgeon. And I thought, what is going on? Why would the surgeon be calling me? I literally just saw him. He was calling to tell me that the biopsy results had come back and I didn't have a sarcoma. I actually had testicular cancer, and I had what was known as an embryonic carcinoma, a really rare type of testicular cancer, but it was testicular cancer, and he couldn't be more happy. And I was so confused. I'm like, why are you so happy? Like, is this a good thing? He's like, this is an amazing thing. He said, your survival rates have just shot through the roof. The surgery's off. We're going to send you straight away to start chemo. Like, this is best case scenario. You already had the rarest type of cancer. You now are the 1% of the 1%. He said, take this as a miracle. This is your Hail Mary. You've got a chance. I was literally in disbelief. I did not see it coming. I'd psyched myself up that I was going in for this major surgery. I was going to walk through those doors at 5 a.m. for a nearly 12-hour procedure, and I didn't know if I was going to walk out of it again. So I was kind of in shock. Like, hey, like, how have I just gone through the last 3 weeks preparing for the worst, and now I've just had this miracle happen to me that I have testicular cancer, and it's something I should be excited about. It was just like a whole massive mind spin for me. Like, I wanted to be excited, but I also just realized, I just found out that I had testicular cancer. Like, how many people celebrate when they get told they have testicular cancer? I was now one of them. Basically got sent in to see an oncologist straight away that specialized in testicular cancer. They found a very small lump, smaller than a pea, on my left testy. And from there, they worked out that because I had an embryonic carcinoma, only around 20 to 40 people get it here in Australia. So it is really rare each year. It was considered a very aggressive one, so they needed to shrink it. So we did 4 cycles of what is known as BEP chemo, and the plan was to try and shrink it to get me ready for a pretty major surgery. BEP chemo is notorious for being rough. For those that have gone through it, they can attest to that. For me, straight off the bat, in the first week or two, I started losing my hearing. I had ringing in my ears. I lost the feeling in my hands and feet. My face always felt like it was on fire. I had watched too many movies, and I had assumed that when you went through chemo, you would lose a lot of weight because you'd always be sick all the time. But the opposite was true for me. Because of the steroids they put you on to help with some of those symptoms, I couldn't stop eating. I was eating 5 or 6 meals at a time. I've never been that hungry in my life. I just lost 20 kilos before I was diagnosed. I put on 10 kilos in 8 weeks during chemo. Look, yeah, the biggest symptoms, side effects for me were definitely the loss of feeling in my hands and feet, and the overall toll that chemo takes on your body. I went through a trial for my chemo. So although BEP chemo has been around for a while and is the mainstay for testicular cancer, they wanted to see if they could give this chemo to me faster. So instead of having the break weeks, I just went back to back in these chemo cycles. So by cycle 3, I was an absolute wreck. I couldn't stand. I was so fatigued and exhausted. I couldn't even talk. I went through periods of well over 2 months where I couldn't put a sentence together. And everyone that knows me knows that I'm a talker. We managed to shrink the tumor from the football size it was to the size of a mango. They wanted to do a retroperineal lymph node dissection. We went in for an RPLND, and they had to take my psoas muscle. They were able to save the nerves, the femoral nerves, so I'm still able to walk normally, which is fantastic. While they were in there, they also found some tumors on my liver, so they did a liver resection. And they also found a hernia in my groin from the tumor, so they went in and fixed up the hernia as well. So that was a nice surprise waking up to that. I woke up after this surgery. I was cut open from my ribs all the way down to my groin. I obviously lost my abs. I had too many staples to count, well over 100. And I realized in that moment that this was going to be a tough few weeks recovering. So I woke up in the ICU. I had tubes coming out of everywhere. Nothing had prepared me for what I was going to wake up to. So I had tubes down my nose, down my throat, in my in the side of my throat, in my stomach, in every arm. I had uh, catheters, cannulas, everything. I was just machines everywhere, and it was very overwhelming. That was when reality set in, and I was unable to move because I had no core strength anymore. I couldn't breathe, and I was just constantly hearing machines beeping, and I was just going, "What is going on? Why is everything beeping?" They're like, "You got to breathe, Matt. Keep breathing," and I couldn't breathe. When you go on bleomycin, it causes a lot of damage to your lungs. But something they don't tell you about is when you have surgeries and so forth after it, you can't be given a lot of oxygen because it can cause a really dangerous side effect. So my oxygen levels were dropping really low, but they weren't able to give me much oxygen to bring it back up. So it was a perfect storm. So I ended up spending 3 days, or 3 or 4 days in the ICU. I was not recovering well. Um, my stomach was not draining well, so it was collecting a lot of bile, and it constantly needed to be pumped. I was also draining a lot of fluid from the incisions. So mentally, I was at rock bottom. I really struggled having tubes down my throat. I knew I was going to have a tube, but I wasn't prepared for how big it would be. And it really spiraled me. And it was probably the lowest part of my treatment. And that was where I hit rock bottom and could no longer mentally cope with what was going on. So I was heavily sedated to get me through the next couple of days. I then was relocated to a ward, and I spent well over 2 weeks in hospital recovering. Ultimately, we got a Christmas miracle, and Christmas Eve, I was discharged after spending the night before watching the classic Christmas movies and crying myself to sleep that I was sitting in hospital and I couldn't move. I was discharged and sent home and was able to spend Christmas with the family. But the next day, I found myself back in the emergency. At that point, my stomach had slowly started to restart, but I got a little bit ambitious. I'd gone from chicken broth in the hospital, so clear liquids, to trying to have a sandwich. And the sandwich was just too much, and my stomach went back into paralysis. So I couldn't stop being sick. And at this point, I still have 1,000 staples. So I risked bursting my stomach. So I was sent to the ED, emergency department here, while they frantically tried to contact my surgeon to work out what was going on. I did sit down with the surgeon a week later, and I was told that there was no active cancer found in any of the tumors they took out. I was in shock because I'd been given so much bad news over the 7 or so months before it that I became so immune to positive news. Like, I just didn't think that was something I would get again. I just thought nothing would ever improve in my situation. Chemo really did a number on me. And although I fought every day and took it a day at a time, it wore me down. So by the time I had the surgery, I just wanted it done. I wanted to just move on. But I also felt like I was never going to be allowed to move on. So hearing that news, it was absolutely amazing to be told that there was no active cancer, and I didn't have to go through another cycle of chemo. I'd been like 7 or 8 months off work. I'd regressed in the sense that I didn't go out. I was so scared about getting sick. You're so paranoid that you're going to get unwell and end up back in the hospital that you kind of self-isolate in many more ways than one. I was lucky to be surrounded by so many supportive family members, friends, work colleagues that were all backing me. So I never once felt alone. I felt like no one really understood my situation, but I never felt alone. And uh, a group of friends that would come around and really back me when I was at my lowest, there to cheer me up, take me out, show me that there was life after cancer, and that really got me through those tough days. I did lose a muscle in my leg, so my body has to relearn how to do some things. Uh, it's an adjustment, so I'm hoping to get back into the gym and getting out back into the beach this summer and getting back to a bit of normality and socializing and doing things with my family. It was kind of a shock. I'd never had a health scare in my life. I'd never been through anything significant like this before, and it really caught me off guard. I don't think I was mentally prepared for the storm that I was entering. I'd As every young guy does, you think you're invincible, and that's how I lived my life. I'd just been on a health kick, so I thought I was at um, sort of the best shape in my life, right? I really thought I was invincible, and it really threw that curveball at me. I would say I probably handled it better than I thought I would, mainly because I was told that I had something so bad that the chance of survival, long-term survival, was really tough, right? So then when I got told I had this second lease, an opportunity, I was thankful that I could have chemo. I was thankful that I could have this surgery. It was a tough one. Like, I've never been the most manliest. I've never been the most alpha. I'm a pretty passive guy, right? So for me, it never really dawned on me that like I was losing some of my masculinity or anything like that. For me, it was just like I was actually happy to see the removal of this testy, right? Like it had caused so much damage in my body and almost killed me that I was happy to see the back of it. And I constantly get asked, "Oh, you must miss it, and you must feel like less of a man." I'm like, not at all. I might have one ball now, but I'm twice the man I was before, and that is how. And that's right, and that's how I live my life now, and that's the message I'm spreading to everyone as I tell my story. What can I do to give back? And the first thing that popped in my mind was, what did I do when I needed help? And I went to TikTok, believe it or not. And this is like the modern world we live in. But I went to TikTok and I reached out to other testicular cancer survivors and people going through treatment for help. And look, there was not a lot of it. There was slim pickings. So I thought, well, why don't I get on there, put myself out there, talk about a topic that no one else really likes to talk about, right? So I got my handle, which was the hardest part, one tough nut Matt. And once I locked that in, I was like, that's my persona, right? I'm one tough nut. And that's how I'm gonna tell my story. I started doing lives to try and encourage people to follow me and to ask questions and ask all the things that I didn't know. I didn't know what testicular cancer was before I was diagnosed. I thought that was prostate cancer and that was something only older people get. I had no idea that testicular cancer was the most common cancer for young guys. None whatsoever. I didn't know that I had to check for lumps. It was just something that never came up. I started with one or two people in my lives, and just earlier today, I got off a live with over 300 people in there at one time, which is just blowing me away with the support. I've had thousands of followers join me over the last couple of weeks. My videos are blowing up, and it's been awesome because I'm starting a conversation about something guys don't really like to talk about. I wake up every morning to so many messages of support, so many views of my videos, but most importantly, my inbox is flooded every day with someone starting their journey about testicular cancer. And I'm answering all the questions that I wanted answered. And it might be silly to some, but when you're in that bubble, you want those little things answered, sorry. And Google can't help you with that. Like, when will your hair actually start growing after BEP? Why does it hurt when you get the injection on day 6? Like all the little things that no one really tells you about and you can't go to Google for. So I do that, but it's almost scary that I wake up every day to someone new that's starting treatment, about to get an orodectomy, and they're needing some support. I get asked a lot, has your perspective on life changed? Are you going to quit your job? Are you going to move to another country? And my answer is no. But what I have done is I don't overthink the little things anymore. That's been a massive perspective change for me, right? I don't sweat the little things anymore. And my catchphrase that I say at the end of every TikTok live is enjoy every sunset. And by that, I mean, enjoy every day. Like when I was told that I might never walk properly again, all I wanted to do was run. And I hate running. when when I was sitting in a hospital bed, all I wanted to do was go outside because I couldn't. So now I enjoy every sunset because it's those little things that make life so important. And it's so cliche, but when you can't do something, it's all you care about. So at the end of every day, I sit out and I watch that sunset and I'm just grateful for another day. One of my TikTokers actually just sent me a shirt yesterday and it's enjoy every sunset printed on it. My favorite one is actually this shirt here that she designed. I was blown away by that someone would go to the effort to do that. Yeah, so that's what keeps me going to do this stuff because I know I'm having an impact. I received a message from someone that said, because of you, I went and got checked. I have testicular cancer, and not for a minute do I ever think that I'm not going to make it because I watch your videos and you inspire me every single day. And I'm like, okay, I gotta keep doing this. I spent 6 months where I couldn't look in the mirror because I couldn't face reality. Like, it almost tears me up just talking about it, but I couldn't face reality, right? I almost disconnected that I was going through cancer. And then now when I came out of it, I disconnected that I was a survivor. But this whole process that I've done to talk about it on TikTok has actually been beneficial for me, right? It's almost like free counseling because every day I get to talk about it. I get to talk about the things on my mind. I get to unpack it. And there's so many days that I'll be talking to other people going through treatment for testicular cancer or any type of cancer. And I'll remember things that I'd blocked out and hidden away in my brain during treatment. And I'll be like, oh yeah, that did happen. Oh, I did have that issue. And this was a complication for me. And that is why I say the second part of survivorship for me is being able to help others. I've got through every one of my bad days and I've survived every single one of them. So that's a constant reminder to me now that I can continue to fight every day. Things might not go to plan, but I've survived every single day and I continue to do that every day. And now I want to help others do the same. The tip that I give everyone and the comment I always say is check your balls. For me, I was never told to do that, but look, I am a little bit unique. I didn't have any stage 1 symptoms, which are lumps, swelling, pain, changes in size in your balls. I didn't have any of those. I skipped stage 1 and escalated things along and ended up just having back pain. But now that I'm out here educating everyone about how to check and keep an eye out for testicular cancer, back pain is a symptom of testicular cancer. Trust your body. I went 6 months ignoring symptoms. I thought there was no way I could have anything serious. I definitely didn't think I had the C word. I should have listened to my body and worked out something was wrong and did that scan. So if you know your body best, if something doesn't feel right, talk to a professional. Don't do what I did because I could have had a better outcome if I'd caught it a little bit earlier.